When harsh criticism turns into a defamation campaign, Kim Seokjin fights back in the most powerful way possible. Kim Seokjin, a member of the globally renowned group BTS, had always been a symbol of grace and resilience. From his humble beginnings in Gwacheon, South Korea, to the dazzling heights of international stardom, his story inspired millions. But what unfolded after his inaugural solo performance was unlike anything he or his fans could have anticipated. It was supposed to be a night of celebration. Seokjin, handpicked to perform a heartfelt rendition of the national anthem at the swearing-in ceremony of a newly elected official, was poised to deliver an unforgettable moment. The performance itself was flawless, his voice soaring as it always had. But it was his choice to perform that set off an avalanche of criticism. By the next morning, headlines were ablaze. Prominent Korean TV hosts like Park Ji-hoon and Lee Min-ji used their platforms to dissect every aspect of his appearance, from the symbolism in his traditional hanbok to perceived political undertones in his song choice. What began as biting commentary soon escalated into accusations of Seokjin promoting divisive ideals. Social media turned into a battleground, with hashtags trending both in his support and against him. For someone who had always tried to steer clear of political controversy, this was uncharted territory. The public debate quickly spiraled out of control, taking on a life of its own. Yet amidst the chaos, Seokjin stayed silent, watching, waiting, and, as it would later become clear, preparing. Because Kim Seokjin isn't just a performer, he's a fighter. And what he was about to do would shock the nation. But this was only the beginning of a story that would challenge everything we think we know about freedom of speech, media accountability, and the personal cost of public criticism. The night of the performance was one of those rare moments where everything seemed to stop. Cameras zoomed in on Seokjin as he stood on the grand stage in Seoul, the city's skyline gleaming behind him. He wore a simple yet elegant white hanbok, his signature black hair styled impeccably. The air was heavy with anticipation as the first notes of the national anthem rang out. There was no denying the power in his voice. It wasn't just a song. It was a message, a unifying cry that seemed to resonate with the crowd gathered to witness history. But while many applauded his performance as heartfelt and pure, others saw it differently. The criticism started almost immediately. Some claimed his choice of attire carried political symbolism, too stark, too deliberate. Others scrutinized the slight change he made to the arrangement, interpreting it as a veiled critique of the administration he performed for. One prominent TV host, Park Ji-hoon, called it a calculated PR stunt, while another, Lee Min-ji, accused him of selling out his values for visibility. But what truly lit the firestorm was a widely shared clip from the event. In it, Seokjin finished his performance and briefly exchanged a smile and handshake with the newly elected official. For his critics, that was all they needed. They began painting him as someone aligning himself with divisive policies, a narrative that quickly gained traction. Within hours, Twitter exploded with reactions. "How could he?" wrote one critic. "This isn't the Seokjin we knew." Others questioned his integrity, suggesting he had abandoned the values he often sang about in favor of political opportunism. Fans rallied behind him, flooding social media with messages of support. To them, Seokjin was simply doing his job, singing a song, not making a statement. But his silence in the days following the event left room for speculation to fester. Every news cycle seemed to amplify the outrage, and soon it wasn't just about his performance. It was about him as a person. And yet, Seokjin didn't flinch. He remained quiet, absorbing every jab and headline, waiting for the perfect moment to make his move. The aftermath was relentless. Every news channel, podcast, and social media feed seemed to dissect Seokjin's performance. The Korean TV show hosts at the center of the controversy wasted no time in amplifying their critiques. Each segment felt sharper, more personal, and calculated to fuel the narrative that Seokjin's actions were more than just a performance. They were a political statement. One show, known for its provocative commentary, played clips of him smiling at the newly elected official on a loop. "Is this the face of a neutral artist?" the host questioned, their tone dripping with sarcasm. Another host took aim at his lyrics, referencing an old BTS song and twisting its meaning to imply he'd always harbored certain political leanings. The accusations grew more far-fetched, with some commentators even questioning his loyalty to his roots, something he had always held close to his identity. The audience wasn't passive either. Online forums and comment sections turned into battlegrounds, with supporters defending his authenticity and critics calling for boycotts of his music. Hashtags like #SeokJinExposed and #StandWithSeokJin trended simultaneously, reflecting the deeply divided public opinion. Amidst all this noise, the Korean hosts didn't stop at commentary. They brought in experts, body language analysts, and political commentators to pick apart every frame of his performance. Their broadcasts blurred the line between criticism and outright defamation, with insinuations that Seokjin's motives were insidious and self-serving. For days, Seokjin remained silent. To some, this was a sign of guilt. To others, it was proof of his grace under pressure. Behind the scenes, however, Seokjin and his team were documenting every comment, every accusation, and every unsubstantiated claim. And when he finally spoke, it wasn't through a tweet or a press conference. It was through a defamation lawsuit that would send shockwaves across the entertainment industry. When Kim Seokjin finally broke his silence, he did it with precision and intent. His legal team filed a defamation lawsuit against the network hosting the Korean TV show, naming the prominent hosts individually. The suit alleged that their commentary had crossed the line from criticism into outright falsehoods, tarnishing his reputation and causing emotional and professional harm. The legal document was as detailed as it was damning. It outlined how the host's repeated insinuations of his supposed political leanings were baseless and defamatory. It also highlighted their deliberate misrepresentation of his handshake with the official and the way they amplified false narratives to drive ratings. That Seokjin's team cited specific segments where the host questioned his loyalty and personal values, accusing them of attempting to dismantle his character rather than critique his performance. News of the lawsuit spread like wildfire. The same networks that had criticized him now scrambled to cover the story, some of them toning down their rhetoric as they dissected the legal implications. For Seokjin's fans, it was a moment of vindication. Finally, one wrote on social media, he's standing up for himself and showing them they can't just tear people down without consequences. But not everyone was in his corner. Critics claimed the lawsuit was an attack on free speech, with some accusing Seokjin of being unable to handle public criticism. The Korean hosts at the center of the lawsuit doubled down, stating that their commentary was protected by freedom of expression. One host even mocked the lawsuit on air, calling it a desperate attempt to silence the truth. Seokjin, however, stayed firm. In a brief public statement, he expressed that the lawsuit wasn't about suppressing freedom of speech, but about holding people accountable for crossing ethical boundaries. Words have power, he said, and with that power comes responsibility. As the case moved forward, the court of public opinion remained deeply divided. News anchors and commentators across the political spectrum debated whether Seokjin's move was a bold stand for accountability or a chilling precedent for media freedom. And while the debate raged on outside the courtroom, inside, the stage was set for a legal battle that promised to reveal far more than anyone had anticipated. The courtroom was packed with journalists, fans, and curious spectators when the trial began. The air was thick with anticipation as Kim Seokjin entered, his presence poised yet undeniably resolute. This wasn't the stage he was used to, but he carried himself with the same confidence that had propelled him to stardom. The legal battle was far from straightforward. Seokjin's lawyers opened with compelling evidence, playing clips from the TV segments in question. The words spoken by the Korean hosts weren't merely harsh critiques. They were laced with insinuations that painted Seokjin as a hypocrite and a political operative. Each clip seemed more damning than the last, showing how the hosts had built a narrative that blurred the line between commentary and character assassination. The defense fired back, arguing that their commentary was protected under freedom of expression. "We have the right to criticize public figures," one of their attorneys declared. Kim Seokjin is no exception. But Seokjin's team was prepared. They introduced emails from producers of the show, leaked during discovery, which revealed discussions about pushing the narrative to increase ratings. The messages included directives to frame Seokjin's performance as politically charged, regardless of his actual intentions. The courtroom buzzed as these revelations unfolded, with murmurs rippling through the audience. Then came Seokjin's turn to testify. He spoke with quiet determination, recounting the emotional toll of being vilified in the media. "I've spent my entire career trying to bring people together through music," he said. "But these false accusations have tried to define me in ways that aren't true and have hurt not just me, but my family." His voice cracked slightly as he described the impact on his younger brother, who couldn't understand why his older brother was being attacked on television. The most dramatic moment came when Seokjin's lawyer presented the final piece of evidence, a secretly recorded conversation between two of the show's producers. In the tape, one producer admitted that the hosts had exaggerated their claims to make the segments more controversial. "Controversy sells," the producer said bluntly. The courtroom erupted, and the judge called for order. The defense scrambled to mitigate the damage, but the momentum had clearly shifted. Even the public, which had been so divided, seemed to take notice of the manipulative tactics exposed during the trial. But the question remained, would the jury see this as a clear case of defamation, or would they side with the host's claims of free speech? The verdict was just around the corner, and the stakes had never been higher. As the courtroom drama unfolded, the world outside seemed just as polarized. News outlets on both sides of the political spectrum dissected every word, every revelation, and every testimony. Social media platforms became battlegrounds for heated debates about freedom of speech, the ethics of media criticism, and the responsibilities of public figures. Supporters of Kim Seokjin flooded platforms like Instagram and Twitter with messages of encouragement, using hashtags like #StandWithSeokjin and #TruthMatters. "This isn't just about him," one fan tweeted. "It's about how we let media treat people. He's fighting for something bigger." On the other side, critics accused Seokjin of trying to stifle the media and suppress free speech. Prominent pundits argued that the case set a dangerous precedent. If public figures can sue over harsh criticism, one commentator stated, where does it end? This could silence the press. But it wasn't just about Seokjin anymore. The leaked emails and recorded conversation had sparked a much larger conversation about the ethics of sensationalism in media. Panels of journalists debated the line between fair commentary and targeted defamation. Public figures came forward to share their own experiences of being misrepresented, further fueling the discourse. In coffee shops and offices, the average Korean weighed in. Some sympathized with Seokjin, recognizing the toll of such public scrutiny. Others worried about the implications of holding media outlets legally accountable for their opinions. The nation was gripped by the case, not just for the drama, but for what it revealed about the ever-blurring boundaries of media, truth, and accountability. Despite the noise, Seokjin stayed quiet, appearing calm and focused during his courtroom appearances. He let the evidence speak for itself, refusing to engage in the public tit-for-tat. His restraint only added to the intrigue surrounding the trial, leaving everyone guessing how it would end. The final arguments loomed, and as the trial neared its conclusion, the spotlight shifted back to the courtroom, where the fate of this extraordinary battle would soon be decided. The courtroom was silent as the jury returned with their decision. The foreperson stood, the weight of the moment evident in every measured word. we find in favor of the plaintiff, Kim Seokjin. The words landed like a seismic shift. Seokjin's face remained composed, but the subtle rise of his shoulders betrayed the enormous weight he'd been carrying. The verdict was a resounding victory. The jury had determined that the hosts and their network had indeed crossed the line, defaming Seokjin with reckless disregard for the truth. Damages were awarded in the millions, not just as compensation, but as a statement about accountability in media practices. The public reaction was swift and loud. Supporters of Seokjin celebrated the verdict as a triumph for fairness and integrity. "This isn't about silencing criticism," one fan posted. "It's about drawing a line when that criticism becomes harmful lies." Others viewed it as a much-needed reckoning for sensationalist media, applauding Seokjin for taking a stand, not just for himself, but for everyone who's ever been wrongfully dragged through the mud by headlines. On the other hand, critics decried the decision as a chilling blow to free speech. Opinion pieces questioned what this would mean for journalists, especially those who comment on public figures. Some of the accused hosts remained defiant, stating they would appeal, but their reputations had already taken a serious hit. For Seokjin, the victory was bittersweet. In an emotional statement outside the courthouse, he thanked his fans for standing by him. "This was never about silencing anyone," he said, his voice steady despite the clear emotion in his eyes. "It was about truth. Words matter, and they have real consequences. I hope this reminds everyone in the media to choose them wisely." He spoke about the toll the trial had taken, not just on him, but on his family. He admitted there were moments he wanted to walk away, to let the storm pass, but he stayed the course, driven by a belief that the fight was bigger than him. "This wasn't just about clearing my name," he said. "It was about reminding all of us that accountability matters, no matter how powerful the platform." In the months that followed, the case left a lasting imprint. Media organizations reevaluated their editorial practices. Cautious of the lines they were now hesitant to cross. For fans and viewers alike, the trial served as a reminder of the humanity behind the headlines, urging a shift toward more thoughtful and ethical discourse. Seokjin's battle had been hard-fought, but it left an undeniable message: standing up for yourself, even in the face of overwhelming criticism, can lead to meaningful change. Kim Seokjin's journey wasn't just about winning a legal battle. It was about reclaiming dignity and truth in a world that often sacrifices them for the sake of controversy. His story is a reminder that while public figures are under constant scrutiny, they are still human beings deserving of respect and fairness. This case also underscores a deeper truth for all of us. Words have power. Whether spoken on national television, typed out in a tweet, or shared in a private conversation, the things we say carry weight. They can build someone up or tear them down. Sometimes with consequences we can't predict. That Seokjin's fight challenges us to be more thoughtful in how we engage with others, especially in a time when it's easier than ever to spread opinions without considering their impact. It's a call to hold media and ourselves accountable for the narratives we create and consume. As we reflect on Seokjin's resilience, let's remember the importance of standing up for what's right, even when the odds feel insurmountable. Whether it's protecting your reputation, defending your values, or seeking justice, staying true to yourself is always worth it. And if a story moved you, inspired you, or made you think differently, consider joining the conversation. Subscribe to our channel for more stories that challenge the norm, spark important discussions, and remind us of the power of truth. Let's keep this dialogue going. Together, we can make a difference. Because in the end, it's not just about what happens to Seokjin, it's about what we learn from it.